Hey, and welcome back to Gametalk. I'm your host, Sam Edmion. Today I'm joined by Connor.
Hey, guys.
And Mike.
Hello.
Welcome back, Mike. And this will be our final episode of 2023. And what better than to have a Game of the Year discussion?
My heart's going to break on this one. I guarantee you I'm going to have a heartbreak.
Well,
I see it coming around too.
It's a simple little bracket, right? We've been kind of like tournament pilled this year, which I'm all for. I think the tournaments are pretty fun. Maybe that's just my shonen obsession.
Why is Cocoon on there twice?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, Connor, you had one job.
Hold on.
It is on there twice.
Okay.
Twice. How did that happen?
I don't know. What was our other game? What did it replace?
There were a few others we left out on the cutting board. Maybe you could just sub that one in.
Is Hogwarts Legacy in there? That is.
Yeah.
It is. I guess I'm leaving all this in, by the way. This is staying in the show.
What are we missing?
All right, so in real time, we need to adjust this bracket
Participants.
and get it ready.
Change Cocoon. That's against Tears of the Kingdom. We'll change that to what's a game I played this year?
Shadows of Doubt was supposed to be on there.
Okay.
Put that against the Diver. Keep Cocoon against Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't want Shadows of Doubt going out in an early round. I want it up against another indie game, so at least it's a fair fight in round one.
Shadows of Doubt, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to play that. I didn't get around to it, but I will be voting on it. All right, let's
I mean, that's how it goes here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Bracket
didn't come out
prepared.
this year, but I mean, it launched into early access this year, so I'd count it.
Imagine if we got a Cocoon versus Cocoon in the finals, though. Wouldn't that have been crazy?
That'd have been hype.
Spider-Man pointing meme. Okay. Do you want to send over the new bracket? And we'll include this bracket as a thumbnail for our episodes. You all at home can follow along. Tell us how wrong we are, etc.
I can't believe I called Dave the Diver an indie game. I feel ashamed of myself. I need to go take another shower.
So this year we have crowned the mice and keyboard the best way to play a game, best controller for a game. We have crowned the PlayStation 3 the best console of all time.
Two things I don't agree with.
And we will now crown the best game of 2023. All right, so
yeah, let's do it.
Without further ado, let's just get started.
Round one, we got Tears of the Kingdom of the Legend of Zelda franchise versus,
in case you didn't know,
in case you weren't aware,
debut indie game Cocoon.
Okay, so before we start this, if you all remember, you were like, Amit, you have until December, end of December, to beat Tears of the Kingdom, because we're going to talk about the finale. And I'm happy to report that I completely failed.
No!
So what I think will end up happening is I'm going to say my piece about Tears of the Kingdom, and then I am going to temporarily leave, and you guys talk about
the ending is 30 minutes long.
You guys
you had 8 months.
You guys talk about the finale. And then message me on Discord and I'll come back.
Oh my god.
But
unbelievable.
Aside from the ending,
we don't need to talk about Tears of the Kingdom ending.
Yeah, I mean, we've already.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the ending yet. We could just say, okay. it clears.
Yeah, Tears of the King. So, I mean, we want to give Cocoon its fair shake. I didn't play it. I want to play it, but it looks really, really neat. I know you played it, Connor.
It's a brilliant.
Connor's the only one here.
It's a super puzzle game. Like, and it feels extremely indie. Like, I get. It's like an artsy puzzle indie game. Like, I feel like that's almost a genre of its own now. And I really liked it. It was a sit down and play it all in one sitting kind of day for me. It was like 4 hours, maybe 5. Like, pretty short game, rainy Sunday afternoon. I really liked it. Makes your brain work a little bit, but I was never stumped for very long. I don't know, nothing bad to say about it, really. But it's not Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, it's not.
Good game, highly recommend. It's on Game Pass. Super recommend you play it. Really, I don't think there are any games on this list I don't recommend you play, except maybe one that we'll get, Yeah, just one. Maybe 2.
But yeah, no, this game looked really neat, and as you said, it was a debut indie, so that's really, really impressive for them to put this out as their first game.
Yeah.
And I absolutely intend to play it, along with the dozens of other games I intend to play. So. Yeah.
But I think we're safe sending Tears of the Kingdom to the next round, where we'll talk about it a little more.
Okay. Connor, are you tracking I can track the victors if you want.
This option will be available. Oh.
I'll just go ahead and do that. So Tears of the Kingdom makes it to the next round here.
Yeah, this website's dumb.
Okay, let me just make it a not...
Oh, I did it.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Okay.
Next round.
Now, this one, I feel like we can actually have a bit of discussion on.
I agree.
Armored Core 6 versus Super Mario Wonder.
So, Mike, I feel like you're going to want to be the one to defend Armored Core in this arena.
No, I'm over it.
Well, come on, we gotta have an episode.
They added ranked match. Okay, they added ranked matchmaking, and it hurt my heart because they nerfed everything that I found fun about the game.
Yeah, so did they?
That's tomorrow.
When we talked about Armored Core, right? We had this issue of like there are a couple builds that just completely stomp everything else. Did they ever fix that for online play?
None of the builds are fun anymore.
See, that sounds brilliant to me.
They took the fun out of the single player, and it made me feel miserable. I tried clearing a boss. And I'm like, nothing works anymore. And then I went to double Gatlings. No, I was still good at the game. I'm like, nothing's fun anymore. Now it's just me, spamming double Gatlings because it still clears the single player, and they're not nerfing it because it's just garbage anyway.
Well,
literally, like double Gatling's still broken, and they haven't been nerfed in 5 patches. So like, they didn't fix anything. They just made it more annoying because double Gatling's absolutely twice as boring as double shotguns.
Powerful defense. This Armored Core is such a hard game to talk about because it was something that I liked so much, but then like just a couple little nitpicks made it impossible for me to like.
I loved every single bit of that single player that I played, and I am not going back for multiplayer. I'm sorry, it's not worth it.
See, I will
play another game.
To me, this was always a single player game. Anyway, I never even touched the multiplayer.
Wait, we didn't even put BattleBit on this.
What's BattleBit?
Oh, it's an indie. It is a good game.
Indie Battlefield.
It's early access, though, isn't it?
I think it is. Well, we went wait then.
We don't
is
do
it
early
access? I'm checking. I mean, Shadows of Doubt is too, but
like when I think of Armored Core, like I don't know, the thing with From Software games, I love having that From Software boss moment, and this game did deliver on that for me. Like, what was it, Balteus, right?
Yeah,
Balteus. Balteus was so memorable. Like, that's a pretty unforgettable boss fight to me.
The one I think of is the Worm. The Worm was the game had great moments. It was like a really excellent B action movie game.
It was. It's just, I think you guys are right in the sense that like, once you figure out the right build, you can sort of just cruise through things. At least back when I played it. I don't know, the patches might have changed things.
Yeah, that's what I
kind of got rid of any cruising. Now you just actually have to.
So I think that's a good thing.
That's excellent to me. Yeah, I want to see. Yeah. I regret that I haven't played any of that. Because that was my beef with that game was that it felt like a game that set out to be this creative experience, and it was failing to do that because there was such an obvious meta.
I think my problem with like nerfing everything is it made it so that like I had to sweat on my 4th playthrough, which I really shouldn't have to because at that point I should kind of be.
Yeah, it would have been better if it was balanced at launch, I feel like.
But, like, and now I have to sweat in my 4th playthrough, and I'm like, there's no reason for me to go back. Why would I go back? I have nothing to get. And they nerfed all the bosses anyway.
But Armored Core 6...
The bosses are easier?
Yeah, they did make Balteus notably more easy.
Yeah, they made Balteus. I remember
that sucks.
Yeah. Nah, there was people who beat it pre-patch, and that was in, like, week 1.
I beat it pre-patch.
So, yeah, me too.
I beat every boss pre-patch.
Yeah, I don't know about the others. I remember I beat Balteus day 1.
I did all 3 playthroughs pre-patch.
I got up to the Worm before I stopped playing that game. And I really enjoyed my time with that game. Like, it was just rad, like, who hates, giant robots
it was
smashing each other,
And it was a video game. Like, in a year where, like, they had complex narratives and complex mechanics and everything. This one just was a video game. And I think this is what gaming needed this year.
I did like the fact that it was unabashedly a game. I know, Connor, you had some, I didn't
have any beef with the narrative. I thought the narrative was, like, perfect for what it was. Like, I I think they could have given me more information before I went into a level. I think with a very, relative to designing a game, a very low amount of effort, they could have just said, hey, this is what you can expect. You should build around this, instead of me having to play the level, fail, and then change, because it just felt like my first playthrough of a level was meaningless. Like, you know, either I was going to beat it or I wasn't.
I do kind of like the fact that they throw you in there. You have to take what you fail, you take what you learned, and then you synthesize like a build to try and overcome it. So I don't know.
The narrative clashing against that as hard as it does bothered me. Like, even if it was like, in a literal sense, if the narrative of the mission was that it was a repeatable thing, then that wouldn't bother me. But the way the gameplay, and like, I don't know, Souls games do that all the time. Like, I'm so used to a FromSoft game having, like, retrying be part of the narrative. And the fact that it wasn't here irked me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, like, I don't know.
Such a weird complaint for me, but I couldn't get past it.
The story, narrative, lore-heavy From Software was definitely not as present in this game as they were with Souls and Elden Ring, obviously.
There was lore there and stuff, but yeah.
But, you know, not to the extent of their other entries.
This has actually been a devastating year for lore channels, I would argue. Like, Zeltic and Vati and everything. It's been a really bad year for them.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think before Tears of the Kingdom came out, there'd be something there, but they totally didn't really care about their own lore, so...
No, in fact, we'll get into it later, but they just decided to flush all of it down the toilet completely.
Yeah. But, you know, you've got probably Elden Ring, Shadows of the Erd Tree coming out next year, and...
The thing about Armored Core is it's never had, like, a deep lore, and if it did, it's
and
I
don't want that from Armored Core.
Yeah. And, like, this is only game one of what's probably going to be 3 separate, like, expansions. I guarantee you. Because that's what they've always done.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Armored Core always releases in groups of 3, where, like, they release the base numbered game, and then they release some side games, so they might be in DLC.
Before we talk too much about Armored Core, I actually think Armored Core wins this one. I don't know if that's a hot take or not.
So let's talk about Mario Wonder, right? Like,
yeah, I want to talk
here's
about
the thing.
it,
So for all intents and purposes, Mario Wonder was a top tier 2D Mario to me.
It was probably the best 2D Mario. It was not a top tier 2D platformer though.
It was filled with so much, I guess, whimsy and joy. Like I said, it felt like distilling Super Mario Odyssey into a 2D format almost, with its Wonder Flowers or whatever. But at the same time, right, like, there's a but coming. I enjoyed my time with it, but like it was like a little, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I ate a meal, but it didn't fill me up, kind of.
Yeah,
with
I
Mario
100%
Wonder.
agree. It was a brilliant game, but it didn't start... One, there was no challenge to be found in this game. Pretty much anywhere. I 100%ed it. All of the levels... There were a few levels that took me a few tries to beat, but... And it's a Mario game. You know, it's the 2D Mario games tend to be more for kids these days. But I was really hoping for something more like Super Mario Bros. 3, where, yeah, there is a lot of easy stuff there, but there is also some pretty challenging gameplay in that game. And
I mean, the presentation, like, the feel of the game, all of that was just top notch. But for some reason, like, it just didn't leave a lasting impression with me.
I think it was because I wanted it. It deserves to be in the discussion of best platformers of all time, and it's just not. They just didn't. It modernized Mario to 2010 standards when it's 2023, if that makes sense. Like, it still, like, doesn't keep up with Rayman Legends to me, or Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, both early 2010s. You know, I think Tropical Freeze was 2014. You know, these are not, they're old games that are still beating it, and I just don't think there's really any excuse for that when you're Super Mario. I also don't, they didn't give it a ton of replayability in my mind. I mean, I guess you can take different routes through the worlds, but I don't think there are any, like, shortcuts you can take to get to the end quicker or anything, and things like that add a lot of replayability to a Mario game for me. I really think,
like, actual multiplayer would add a lot to this game too.
I 100% disagree. I think the multiplayer that is in this game is the best online multiplayer a Mario game's
we disagree
ever had.
there.
Because
you would rather have that than actually playing with someone? Like, are you serious?
No. If you're sitting in the same room, you have the old school multiplayer. If you're playing online, you have the new multiplayer that actually works. Like, yes, I would every single day of the week. I would take what we got in this over like what was in Super Mario Maker 2 on a basis of pure functionality.
Yeah, I mean, okay. In theory, if they could get it working, like it would be.
I would still.
Be fun to do.
It's super annoying. Like, it is annoying to have your gameplay interrupted when somebody gets a power up. It's annoying for somebody to jump on your head. A stranger. If it's your friend that's in the room with you, that's one thing. But like, I wouldn't want that experience online.
Don't multiplayer 2D Marios kind of have like a competitive element to them? Like you're trying to,
a fun
get
one.
a higher score and get there first or whatever, right?
Yes, but I think it's always terrible because of what these games are. Like, I have an ex-girlfriend that I tried to play Super Mario 3D World with, and we didn't make it 3 levels in before they didn't want to play anymore because I was going to get the crown every round. Like, the competitive aspect of these games just isn't fun, in my opinion, at all.
I mean, that's totally fair. I mean, I'm kind of speaking out of nowhere because I've never played one of these games online, so...
No, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, rather. Its online is like a revelation. It is so good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I tried it and I hated it, so maybe I just need to give it another shot.
It was brilliant. I kept it on the entire game. I loved it so much. It was just so cool to be able to, like... I didn't accept help very often because I didn't really want to. Even on the levels that I had to try. If I had to try more than once on a level, I didn't want help, because it was a precious morsel of challenge in an easy game. But I loved, like, seeing someone else that, like, clearly needed a power-up and being able to give it to them. Or someone who clearly was missing a secret and being able to show them where it was. Or, somebody who was desperate to get revived. I was able to bring them back. Like, some of those fun moments from the old school multiplayer, but none of the annoying parts of it. I loved all that. And like, just kind of making these friends that you barely have any ability to interact with, but they're just, these are your buds for the next like 2 or 3 minutes while you clear this level. I really liked that. It almost had like the Journey multiplayer. It almost had that vibe.
I was kind of thinking of that, yeah.
I really liked it. I would not trade it for even perfectly functional, traditional Mario multiplayer. I wouldn't trade it for that. I really like what it is. And there's a whole other aspect to it I haven't even played, which is the racing. I haven't touched that, and I thought it looked really fun. I just thought I was going to play it with my brother, and he doesn't have the game yet, so I'll get to it when I get to it.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, all in all, it was a perfectly fine 2D Mario. It was great even, but it's just not what I wanted.
I think it's
what
the
I
best
expected
2D
it to be.
Mario,
maybe.
I think.
Yeah,
but it's just
there was just something missing, right? Like,
2D Mario
I wasn't satisfied.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not Armored Core 6, I guess.
So I mean, I think we're unanimously agreeing on Armored Core here.
All right,
That's already kind of an upset, I feel like, to most people. So
really, I never expected Super Mario Bros. Wonder to make it past round 1.
Yeah, I don't know. I preferred my time with Armored Core 6. We'll just go with that. All right, next round, Alan Wake 2 versus Spider-Man 2.
Easiest choice of my life.
I mean, it has to be Alan Wake 2, but like, I do want to shout out how good Spider-Man 2 was. Like, I mean, Peter Parker is, like, that character exists to be beat up on, I feel like. Like, Peter Parker always goes through so much crap in his life.
I'm actually really sad to see Spider-Man get eliminated round 1 here, but it is what it is with a random bracket.
Yeah.
In the spirit of Peter Parker getting beat up.
And plus, it's hard to talk about this game too much without going into spoilers, but, just sort of vaguely speaking, the reason why I love Peter Parker as a character is because he can go through all the stuff he goes through, and he still always he's selfless and always puts others first. Like, he's the embodiment of good, right? And if you've played Spider-Man 1, you'll know exactly sort of what I'm talking about with his decision at the end of the game. And that sort of character trait continues on into Spider-Man 2. And obviously we know, like, from the trailers, it's not a spoiler that he gets the symbiote suit, and, like, that's well-worn territory at this point. But once again, Insomniac demonstrates that they have total mastery over the Spider-Man characters, including, you know, Peter and Miles, as well as Spider-Man storylines. So, like, I feel like Insomniac executes Spider-Man stories better than the movies I've seen, better than, you know,
notably
the other media I've
Spider-Verse.
seen. Well, I haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse, but, you know, Into the Spider-Verse was very good. Yeah. But Insomniac really has a handle on Spider-Man, and that is really evident with Spider-Man 2. So the story is really engaging. You know, Harry Osborn comes back into Peter and Mary Jane's life, and the story sort of goes from there. Miles is trying to get ready for college, get his essay written. These characters have these sort of relatable issues they go through, and the story sort of just goes wild from there. But and that's also, you know, to say the gameplay much improved from Spider-Man 1, which was already, like, fantastic.
Was pretty excellent, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, the traversal, I know, like, the web wings are a hard sell on people who haven't really played the game, but once you play the game with the web wings, like, mix them in with the swinging, like, it's the traversal in that game is just sublime.
Dude, you know what makes me feel goofy? The web wings were in the MCU, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember which movie, but I'm pretty sure I was watching a clip from one of the Spider-Man MCU movies.
I think the web wings are from the comics.
Yeah, they must be.
Originally.
Yeah. And I just, like, it's weird. I just don't think about it.
It is weird, right? Like,
it's weird to me that it didn't. I remember watching it and it didn't stand out to me in the movies, but it did in the game. And I don't know why. I think it's because swinging is such a fun, integral part of a Spider-Man game to me that I was like, really, you're gonna mess with that? Like, the thing. Yeah. But if it's fun, it's
just
fun. You know.
The name of the game of traversal in this game is speed. You go way, way faster than you did in 1 and Miles Morales.
Because I was replaying Miles Morales recently, and it actually feels really slow to me on a replay.
Yeah, no.
Maybe that's because I've been watching the footage of 2.
The speed is way faster. And they can do that in part because of the SSD, right? They can load in way more of the world, so you can move faster through the world now. So, using the web wings in conjunction with the swinging is how you achieve, like, the max speed in that game. So once you really master the traversal, it's so much fun to be, like, swinging, diving, gliding. All of that is just fantastic in that game. So, shout outs to Spider-Man 2. The reason I'm saying all this is because even though I have not played Alan Wake 2, I just know it has to be the better game. Just by osmosis at this point.
It is. I will say it is an ironic clash against Spider-Man 2 because everything Spider-Man 2 does well, Alan Wake does poorly. Like, traversal in Alan Wake 2 is a drag. It is an absolute, like...
Isn't it just walking or whatever?
You're walking all over the place, and it is not fast, and it's annoying. My cat is trying to drag my phone off of my desk. 1 second. But it is... I've heard a lot... It didn't bother me, but I've heard a lot of people complain about all of the walking in Alan Wake 2, and the combat is not... I don't think the combat in a horror game should be fun for what it's worth, but the combat is not terribly fun in Alan Wake 2. It gets interesting towards the end, and it gets a little difficult, but I don't know if I would call it super fun. I didn't look forward to it, because, you know, you're supposed to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
But Alan Wake, it's this beautiful meta-narrative, and it's so weird, and it's so... It felt very for me, if that makes any sense. Like, it's just a lot of things that I love out of a video game. I loved the little puzzles you're solving. I loved the Mind Palace stuff. I don't know. I just there was a lot to love in Alan Wake 2, and I would recommend just about anybody play it. I really love it, and it definitely wins this matchup to me.
Yeah, I'll have to play it, and we'll have to. When I play it, we should probably just do like a spoiler discussion on it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Mike, any thoughts?
I didn't play either of these games.
All right.
All right.
That's what I like to hear.
Alan Wake 2 moves on. Next, we have Diablo 4 versus Pikmin 4.
I have such weird feelings about Diablo 4 because I did actually, like, in a literals, I enjoyed my time with it, but I also feel so cheated that I paid $70 for it.
Yeah, I feel differently because I definitely got my money's worth out of it. I had like easily over 200 hours in that game. It is my most played game of 2023, which is kind of wild.
That's wild.
Yeah, in a year with like Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3, you know, the addictive nature of of Diablo 4 got to me.
Just so you know, my most played game this year is Halo Infinite, and I don't even like it that much.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's just what me and my buddy Tyler play.
Yeah.
It's probably Fortnite, but it's either Fortnite with Whitney or Halo with Tyler. Those two are married, and that's just what I do on,
Yeah.
That's my hangout time.
But yeah, so Diablo 4, it's so weird to me because like it really truly felt like they struck gold when this game launched. Like when this game launched, I was just like, this is the next big like live service game, and it totally has its teeth in me. Like I am hooked. Like I was almost mad because I was just like, I do not want to be this into a live service game because I'm like a variety kind of gamer, right? Like I like to play all sorts of games.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why I avoid things like World
Diablo
of Warcraft.
4 is why you didn't finish Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, no, straight up. That's why I avoid things
yeah.
like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, right? Because I know that if I get addicted to these things, it's just over. And we can't have that, right? But Diablo 4 did manage to grab me. And I was like, well, what does this mean, right? Like, I stopped playing Tears of the Kingdom to play Diablo 4. And initially, I was just like, I'm just going to check out Diablo 4 really quick, hop back into Zelda. Never happened, right? Like, I still played Zelda on and off throughout the year, obviously. But, like, Diablo hard pulled me away from Zelda, which is something I did not see coming. And initially, it was because I was like, okay, I have a lot of friends who are playing this. It's a lot of fun playing this with them. Valid, right? But even when all my friends moved on to play different things, I was still hooked on this thing. That's how badly it got me. So I don't know. The gameplay is just super addicting to me. Like, and the presentation, the sort of like isometric view, like it's a very pretty looking game. It plays really well. The build variety is insane, right? You can like build your character dozens of different ways per class, and like obviously the builds synergize differently with all the different items. So like
they made it
in terms
super
of
easy
depth,
to redo your build too, because I did it. In my short 20 hours or so with the game, I redid my build like 3 times.
Yeah, in terms of depth, there's like just so much of it in this game. Like the theory crafters are having a field day with this game in terms of like optimizing builds, because not only do you have your, equips, your skills, you have like the Paragon points, which is just a whole nother layer on top of just fine tuning your character to be exactly what you want them to be. And I don't even think you got that far, Connor, to unlock the Paragon points.
Nah. I will say this game was best played multiplayer, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And it was absolutely, I fell into the camp where, and this, I have a lot of vitriol for this release style. They released the game to people who paid extra. I think you had to pay like $90 or something, and you got it like 3 days early.
Yeah, that's starting to become a trend.
And that 3 days, I was never at the same point as anyone I knew. And I never got to play multiplayer. I played multiplayer with you for 40 minutes, and it was miserable for me. Like, it wasn't fun at all, because even though it like level balanced us, you had better gear, you had played the game a little longer, so you knew a little more, and like, I just was not a factor in that gameplay. And like, your other friend joined us for a bit too, and I just like, I might as well have not been there. That was so boring. Yeah. And also like just the story. Like, I almost think, why did they put a story in this game? Because you skipped it. I liked the story a little bit, so I didn't want. I actually liked the story a decent amount. I was having a good time with it. But when I played with you, you guys were skipping the cutscenes. By the time I was done with the cutscene, we were to the next cutscene, and so I didn't get to play the game at all.
like, and you know me, right? Like, I'm a huge
you did not
story
care.
cutscene guy, but I was just fiending for.
No, I just
it was just Maple Story to me. That's what this game was.
This game had a good story, but they should have commit because the gameplay was more conducive to the way you played it, even though the story was good. Like, I absolutely could have seen a world where I just turned my brain off and grind in this game and had a very good time with it. But that didn't, it felt at odds with what the game wanted me to do, which very clearly it wanted me to play this very big budget story. Yeah. And I felt punished for choosing either side. I was either missing the story or I was wasting time with the story. And make up your mind, guys. Because I think it could have been a very fun drop-in experience for me if there'd just not been a story. Because I wanted you guys to come help me with my story stuff. And it felt a little balanced around multiplayer. Like, the balance in this game was very strange, where I would be one-shotting everything for like 2 hours, and then suddenly I would get to a boss that I could not beat. Like, and this is, like, I would go straight from one-shotting every single enemy to a boss that I was struggling with. And maybe it was a skill issue, it very likely was, but the fact that the game never demanded any skill at all outside of the boss fights was stupid to me. Like, if a boss should be a test, and I was being asked to take a test I was never given the option to study for. So I have a lot of game design beef.
The meat and potatoes of Diablo, like, if you're looking for challenge and actual, like, non-boss gameplay, that's in the dungeons, right? So, like...
See, I never even got there, I don't think.
But, yeah, exactly. You have to get through the story and stuff.
And I had to get through all these bosses
scratch at that.
Were sudden difficulty walls. And like... The solution, obviously, well, I could have turned down the difficulty. I was playing this on a harder difficulty because I thought there would be bonuses for that, which there were not. And I did eventually just turn down the difficulty once I realized that.
Yeah, so between World Tier 1 and 2, there isn't really a reason to play on 2, but then 3 and 4, you get substantial bonuses.
You can't even get to 3 without finishing 2, I think. And I would, one of the walls, I invited you, like, hey, come help me beat this, and it was dead instantly. Like, there was no challenge for either of us at all there. Like, it just did not have... The attack patterns were so easy to avoid if there was a single other target. It just didn't feel balanced around that at all. And, I don't know. I've never enjoyed a game so much, but hated it so much at the same time, I don't think,
as
Diablo 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do have to mention, right, like, at launch, things were great for me, right? And then things kind of dove off a cliff. I don't really know what happened.
I've heard the updates were atrocious. I haven't played it since launch.
Blizzard patched the game. The patch was so bad, they had to publicly put out, like, a video apologizing for the patch, which is certainly a first for me. I've never seen
That's the most 2023 thing I've ever heard, though.
Yeah, right.
Ridiculous.
But so for several months there, Diablo 4 was not in a good state, and I fell off of it. A lot of people fell off of it, it seems like. But now it seems like Diablo 4 is kind of back on the right track, right? And I can sort of validate that. Like, I did play a little bit, like a month or so ago, and I was having a great time. Not addicted anymore, thankfully, so I was able to step away and haven't thought about it since. But I think, Diablo 4 is sort of settling into the game it's supposed to be, which is par for the course for Diablo games, right? Like Diablo 3 went through the same sort of life cycle where, like, a year or so after launch, it was like the game that people look back on fondly now.
Yeah.
So Diablo 4, I think, is becoming the game it is supposed to be. It sucks that it had such a sharp decline in quality, like, so quickly after launch, but things are good now. Things were good back when I played it, so...
Why do they make you play 40 hours before you get the horse, though? That's my question.
I don't know. Maybe they... walking builds character or something. I don't know.
No, that's not it. I do a lot of walking, and I don't know. It was Let's talk about Pikmin 4.
Let's talk about Pikmin 4. So I had played a chunk of this game, right? You obviously finished it.
I remember many years ago, you and I disagreed about this, but you described playing Super Mario Odyssey as, like, a constant state of, like, bliss or glee. And that is how Pikmin 4 felt to me the entire time I was playing it. I'm a pretty new Pikmin fan. I I played Pikmin 1 and 2 back in the day, and I bought Pikmin 3 on the Wii U when it was out, but I didn't finish any of those. But in the lead up to Pikmin 4, I played through Pikmin 1, 2, and 3, all on the Switch. And then I played through Pikmin 4, and I never got tired of this formula. I love these games, and Pikmin 4 is the best of the series, easily. It's such a colossal return to form for the series. Like, Pikmin 3 felt like, oh, they're doing this more focused, like, almost story, like, weird, interrupt your gameplay all the time, and half the game is in challenge modes that I didn't even, like, really play. And I just walked away from it with kind of a bad taste in my mouth. And then Pikmin 4 is just, no, all of the game is the game. There's no side challenge mode. The challenges are in the world, and you do them. And it's a long game. It's very long. There's like, I don't know how many hours of content. Quite a bit. It took me a while to beat. You know, the credits roll and you're only halfway through the game. And it's just brilliant fun the whole way through. I will say that it participated in Nintendo's infuriating recent trend of throwing away the story of their games completely, like of the past games, just kind of tarnishing the legacy a little bit, because I wouldn't say it tarnished the legacy, but it's very difficult to put Pikmin 3 on a timeline, whereas Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 were obviously like in order. Like it went Pikmin 1, Pikmin 2, Pikmin 3, and then Pikmin 4, they're just like suddenly like Olimar went back to the planet. We don't know why. He never came back.
See, that was kind of like an interesting story hook to me, but it sounds like it doesn't really pay off.
It doesn't bother me in Pikmin the way it bothers me in Zelda. It does pay off, I would say. And it also, like, it's not without merit. Like, there's a bad ending in Pikmin 1, and Pikmin 4 is largely about the bad ending. But it also wants to pretend some things from Pikmin 2 happened, and also I think it comes before Pikmin 3. It's just very strange. I don't know why. It's not even frustrating. It's just confusing why they did it this way, instead of it just being an alternate ending Pikmin 1 game. But I really like it. The Dendori battles were really fun. There were some intensely difficult challenges in this game with extremely cool rewards for finishing it. I 100%ed it. I got every piece of treasure. And I enjoyed most of that. The only thing I didn't really enjoy were the night missions, which were kind of hyped up, and they were just boring. And part of that is because I saved them all for the end of the game because I didn't like them, so I had to do most of them back to back to back, and they're not hard or fun. But the daytime gameplay, bringing caves back from Pikmin 2, and just exploring like Dandori in general, it's a very light form of strategy where you don't have to be that good at it to do well in the game, but it's enough thinking to keep you engaged, and that just hit the spot for me. I really liked it. Although you have to be pretty intense. The strategy for some of the challenge, like there's a cave of trials, I think. There's like 10 trials you have to do. There's like an old leafling guy you talk to. It's not available until after you roll credits the first time. And that's really hard. But the rest of it, just really fun. And it had a return of like, it had so many callbacks to like great moments in Pikmin 1 and 2. When you roll credits, there's even like a Pikmin 1 style game mode that has like a timer and everything, where you have a limited number of days and you have to find all the ship parts within that, and you get to play as Olimar. That was such a brilliant surprise for longtime fans at the end of Pikmin 4 that I really loved. I was very happy the entire time playing this game. There are many years where it would have been my game of the year.
Yeah, I enjoyed the bits I played quite a bit. I don't think I'm as, gushing as you are. Like, I enjoyed it, but it didn't, like, blow my mind or anything, you know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of nice and pleasant.
I think it's super niche. Which is why I'm pretty happy that I think it's doing as well as it is. Pikmin 4 kind of blew up.
It's definitely by far the best of the series, sales-wise.
Oh, yeah. But it is a niche series. It's... the only reason, between you and me, the only reason Pikmin still exists is because Miyamoto is enamored with this franchise. When they were making Pikmin 1 for the GameCube, he thought Olimar was going to be the next Mario. That's how big he thought this was going to be. which is funny looking back because it's never really done that well. But he just he loves it. It's his favorite thing.
Well, good on him. I mean, like it's great. You know, it's just that I feel like the kind of like the RTS kind of gameplay isn't for everyone. You know,
exactly,
and that's why it's not really that popular. But I think it's really well made. I think the gameplay is fun. I think it's beautiful and very cute, and I do intend to play more. Right? It's not like I didn't enjoy my time with it. So I had a lot of fun with it.
I motion to move Pikmin 4 forward.
So I'm actually going to vote for Diablo simply because I feel like I'm compelled to with the 200 plus hours I put in.
Yeah.
And because I feel like the highs that I had were so high, they're definitely better than the lows. They cancel out the lows, I think.
The only low I felt with Diablo was how I felt the moment I turned it off. And pretty much for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So I guess it's
I'm
up to
Mike.
I'm
going to put it for Pikmin.
Vote Pikmin.
I'm not voting for a Blizzard product.
Alrighty.
Sorry.
That's fair.
So true.
All right.
Hi-Fi
Next
Rush.
up, we have Hi-Fi Rush versus Starfield.
Not even a competition.
Really?
So,
Mike?
okay.
That quick?
I would honestly vote for
can't.
Starfield here.
I vote Hi-Fi Rush. I don't want to sit here and dunk on Starfield.
I can't.
But
And I put 20 hours into the game, and as soon as like the honeymoon 20 hours wore off, I'm like, yeah, no, this game's garbage.
I didn't play...
I don't know, man. Like, I just don't get... I'll just say, I don't get the hype around Hi-Fi Rush. I really don't.
Hi-Fi Rush was really fun.
I really tried to get into that game, and I thought
Starfield.
it was just
kind
of dumb.
Like, I feel like Hogwarts Legacy could be better than Starfield if I like played Hogwarts Legacy. That's a good fight.
Maybe. It's definitely more of a
fight
world.
there, but like...
I most definitely enjoyed my time with Starfield more than Hi-Fi Rush, but...
See, this is so hard for me because...
And it's not like I didn't get Hi-Fi Rush, right? Like, I'm a very rhythmic person. I play multiple instruments, right? I just thought, like, it wasn't fun to play.
I think I did the opposite of not giving Starfield a fair shake, whereas, like, I have a lot of friends who are big Bethesda heads, and I'm a known, like, kind of Skyrim hater, and so I was like, no, I'm a certified Fallout hater. I hate those games. So I really tried to go into Starfield with an open mind, and there were parts of Starfield that I think were brilliant, but oh my god, is the vast majority of that game so bad. It's just...
The thing about Starfield that really kills it for me is the loading. Like, I feel like if all the loading screens were gone, it would be a much better experience.
It would be better, but
significantly better experience.
There would be no experience.
There would still be problems, right? But like, it's so frustrating that like when you have like the vast expanse of space, in order to do anything, you have to navigate a menu, right? Like it's just not.
It's worse than that though, because if it weren't menus, it'd just be walking. So many quests in Starfield were, hey, take this to this guy. Oh, open my menu, fast travel, talk to that guy, open my menu, fast travel back. Like, it's quests that could have been emails. And that was like 90% of my Starfield experience, which is why I kind of did mostly the campaign, because it wasn't that. But the interspersed in that were moments of greatness. I don't know if you guys finished the story. I'm going to spoil it a little bit. No, people don't like this game that much anyway. There were hints of Outer Wilds in the finale of Starfield. There were like narrative points about...
You know what? Even in the first few hours of the game, I sort of picked up on that. It's like, is this where they're going to go with that?
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting to hear.
There were narrative beats of like... the Starborn are people that have done all this before. And like, as you're approaching... I don't even remember what it was called. But as you're approaching the MacGuffin at the end of the game, you like kind of walk through... I think you spend some time in an alternate timeline. You spend some time... there were some what ifs. There are some like going back. They tried to do the thing at the end of Outer Wilds. There's a moment. No, I don't want to spoil that. They just don't do the groundwork to make moments hit like Outer Wilds does. Like there's a moment where Starfield sends you back to the mine that you started the game in. Like, but not literally. Like, it shows up in front of you. It's like an illusion. And it's like, am I supposed to feel nostalgic for this 20 minutes of boredom you made me sit through before I could get to the rest of the game? Like, what were you thinking? You didn't do the groundwork to make this happen. If you were going to do this, it should have been New Atlantis, maybe, or like the Constellation headquarters, maybe. I feel a little bit more about that, but still, I'd probably get lost because I never really learned the layout of it. And like, why are there no town maps? And why, when I land on a planet, why can't I just land at the thing I want to go to? Why do I have to land like a 20-minute walk away from the thing that I actually want to do? That'd be one thing if there was anything, like, there's probably not even combat between you and the thing you want to go to. There's no way to move faster. The only thing, I will say the ship customization is incredible. And the ship combat is kind of fun. I like, and frankly, the gunplay is fine. I didn't even think
I honestly hated the gunplay. I felt it was too light. It was Fallout 4's gunplay without the crutches that Fallout 4 had to make their gunplay.
I'll say it was at its best when I was like killing enemies very quickly. Anytime an enemy had a ton of health, I got bored pretty quick. But
I mean, one thing I really enjoyed about Starfield was the locations too. Like the places I went to, it felt cool being there.
I also like.
So
I wanted they had this whole like, what are they called? Where you can like build a base. There's like the base building mechanic. Colonies, maybe? But you could just play the whole game without ever touching it. And frankly, I didn't see any reward for using it other than like, I guess, intrinsic reward of having a cool hideout. But I didn't like it. I didn't like the base building very much. I thought it was kind of hollow. I like the fact that the planets were empty. I see so many people complaining about that, but it takes me out of a game. Like playing No Man's Sky and there's life on every planet you go to. That's just not, I don't know, that takes me out of a game. You can have life on like a lot of the planets you go to, but there have to be desolate moons and stuff. That's so critical to the spacefaring experience to me. I don't know. I got a lot.
Yeah.
I got more bad to say about Starfield than good.
At the end of the day, like, this was a case of, like, before Starfield came out, we were like, is Bethesda going to sort of evolve? Or are they going to just, like, put out another Skyrim-esque game in space?
And the answer is they did worse than either of those things.
Right? Like, I don't know. Whatever they ended up doing, like, I feel like they need to go back to the drawing board a little bit and hopefully get it together for Elder Scrolls 6.
There could be, like...
Because within Starfield, I think buried underneath it all is a good game.
There were moments I had... Like, when I found... Did you guys find the Space Casino?
Not yet.
There's a Space Casino where you have, like, a zero-G gunfight. And I think that is probably Starfield at its absolute best. It was pretty. It was cool. It was something I hadn't done in any other games. And there were, like... There was combat. There was a cool, totally optional, totally missable puzzle. All of that was brilliant to me. But then, I had to go. In order to get there, I had to do the loading screen to fly to the moon.
Right.
Do the unskippable cutscene to dock. Do the unskippable cutscene to get out of my chair.
I mean,
or
even
the
a
loading
little
screen.
bit of work, and perhaps the game wasn't built to allow this, but even a little bit of work of like when you fly to a system. When you fast travel to a system, you should be able to fly to any planet in that solar system. That would add a lot to that game too. But like, you can't
fly
even do
without
that.
doing fast travel. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know. The only reason you have a ship is for combat, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise you're just clicking on things, opening menus, and fast traveling there. Like,
also weirdly limiting game. Like, hate to say, I know it's not fair. But Baldur's Gate exists in the same room as Starfield. Why is there a mission where a CEO proposes slavery to me as a solution and I can't shoot him in the head? Like, that was, in my opinion, you're playing that mission, there was only one right answer, and it's to kill the guy who thinks slavery is a good idea. And that was not an option. They were unkillable. Like, you've just not... You've made a bad narrative experience at that point. Like, I didn't even need a story. Like, the quest could have just ended. I don't need a reward for killing him. I killed him because he thinks slavery is a good thing. Like, and you made it impossible for me to do that. And as a result, like, And because you can't do that, there's no satisfying conclusion for that quest. No matter what you do, it ends pretty poorly for the people who he wanted to enslave. Like, just
that really sucks.
Yeah, just I don't know, man. And I also as an aside, I thought Hi-Fi Rush was pretty fun. It's a neat aesthetic. It was something new. I didn't finish it.
I did respect the fact that it was doing something kind of novel.
Yeah, I also I really like those like character action games, and they're already kind of rhythmic. So adding literal rhythm to it it's a good idea.
It just I don't know why it just did not work for me, man. Like I just thought it was kind of bland.
I enjoyed my time with it, but I didn't.
I'm in
play
the minority
it
there for sure.
Mike, you vote for Hi-Fi Rush
purely despite Starfield.
All right.
Yeah, I get that.
You felt a little betrayed,
the honeymoon
didn't you?
ended, and I realized the game's just Barbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of... I just gave Starfield so many chances. Also, I didn't even mention that it crashed every 20 minutes. Like, it never got better on that for me, as far as I know.
That sucks.
I haven't played it since then. But
yeah, there's been a few patches, so hopefully you'd think that that has been addressed, but who knows?
So these next two games, I didn't play either of, but I have a lot of vitriol for one of them.
So I have played both of them. Played being, I'm not a fighting games guy, but even the brief time I played Street Fighter 6, I could recognize how brilliant it was.
I have heard such good things about it. And its opponent is Hogwarts Legacy.
So for Hogwarts Legacy, one thing I will say is that if you are a fan of Harry Potter, this is your dream game. Like, this is the game you've waited for your whole life. So if that's you, this is the game for you. They really captured the aesthetic of the world. The exploration elements are really good. The castle is really fleshed out, and the world is littered with things like collectibles to keep you playing even after you do like the main campaign and all of that. So
you just say this like Lego Harry Potter doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I
actually don't
Lego
know. I think Lego Harry Potter is kind of brilliant, but I didn't play Hogwarts Legacy. I just like throwing jabs.
But yeah, I think Hogwarts Legacy was a good game. Is it a game of the year contender? Absolutely not. And I guess that's all I'll say about that.
My vote goes to Street Fighter 6 because
so for Street Fighter 6, I also want to talk about it a little bit, right? Like, one thing I really enjoyed about that is that it really tries to be very noob friendly. Yeah, and I'm like a pretty big noob for fighting games, right? Like, so they have these alternate control schemes that really kind of ease you into it, right? And it gives you the option to do combos if you want, but if not, you can just mash square like 4 times or something. So you can still sort of quote unquote being competitive. Now, if you actually got put up against someone who knew combos, you would get obliterated, but still, like, it gives you an avenue to get into fighting games, which I always felt like for traditional like 2D fighting games, I always felt like an outsider looking in because I always thought they were so cool. But like, I just did not want to invest the time to get good at them. And I do think for most of them, you do have to invest time if you really want to understand the game, even a single character, right? Like, that's how deep these games go, right?
Did you play the campaign for it?
I did not play the campaign, no. But I hear the campaign was pretty cool,
hilarious.
Too.
I hear you can just like go up. It's just a world where everyone solves everything by fighting. Like, you can go up to a pizza delivery guy and start a fight with him, and he'll have like a move set from one of the fighters, and you play as like your custom character. And
yeah,
I love all that. That's so funny to me.
So that's a whole element that like I haven't even touched. I'm just strictly talking about like the mechanics of the gameplay.
So what did you do?
The visual flair of the game. I just played versus CPU and training.
Okay,
that's like all I did. Yeah, and the game just feels so freaking good to play, man. Like, it's just. It looks great, it feels great, and like the combos are snappy, like, and obviously like each character in it by themselves is like a mountain of depth that if you want to learn them really well, like, you're gonna have to spend like hours and hours with them, right?
Capcom is just all killer, no filler these days.
Yeah, Capcom, like I said, one of the best developers in the world at this point.
Yeah. So
Street Fighter 6 absolutely deserves to be in the Game of the Year conversation. I say that as someone who isn't even very good at it, like hasn't even played it that much, but just recognizes the fact that it's a seminal fighting game. So Street Fighter 6.
I'm happy moving Street Fighter 6 forward. I'm happy as long as Hogwarts Legacy is
sad. That's how I felt about Starfield. Anyway.
This next one's hard.
This next one, I'm just going to... Because I haven't played either of these, right? So you guys debate, and whichever one convinces me, I guess I'll vote for.
So Shadows of Doubt is a procedural detective game.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a procedural immersive sim detective game.
Yeah, I want to play this game really bad. I actually haven't played it. It's the only early access title on this list, which I might snuck it past me in that way. I don't really like.
I mean, we'll put it if we want to push Dave the Diver forward to get eviscerated by Baldur's Gate. I mean,
so the thing is, I don't actually. I like Dave the Diver. Dave the Diver is a cute little it's not even an indie game, not a real indie game for the record. It's a Nexon game, but it's fun. It's like an adventure underwater kind of game. It's got a weird little story going on, and then at the end of the day you play this tapper kind of arcadey kind of thing to sell your sushi at a sushi restaurant that you've caught during the day as Dave the Diver. And that loop is fun and all, but it just isn't a procedurally generated detective game immersive sim. That's just so cool.
My thing about Shadows of the Doubt is that it feels feature complete at the current moment, but it's not. But
I'm probably going to pick it up on the winter sale.
It is immersive. I've literally just walked through the streets and saw people fighting each other for no reason other than just because. I literally watched a man get gunned down in the street.
How's the urbanism in Shadows of Doubt? I need to know. Is it a nice walkable community?
No cars. The way it works is if you can see a window, you can go there. Every single building is stimulated all the way up to the top.
So does it have is it like a PI, like you're a personal investigator, or is it detective?
A PI.
So are there any you go check out a hotel room in this building and point your camera out the window until you see somebody doing something?
Unfortunately, no. You just investigate murders right now. They might add that in the future. They added side quests where you investigate people infidelity. So that's a little neat.
Yeah.
Walk into their home, crack into their computer, and read their emails, kind of deal. Yeah, it's so neat.
Game. That sounds so fun. So I think Shadows of Doubt goes forward on this.
I'm definitely Shadows of Doubt sounds way cooler, but why is Dave the Diver
I don't know
why is it a big deal? I just don't understand.
I have no idea why it's such a big deal. I kept playing more and more of it, trying to figure out why do people love this so much? Why do people love this so much? And it's a fun loop. But that's it. I don't know. It's just kind of fun. I don't know. There's no There's no big revelation in it. It didn't seem to do anything particularly new in my opinion. I don't know. I played a decent amount of it too. I can't imagine I'm less than a third away through the game, and I liked it, but it didn't grab me the way it seems to have grabbed a lot of people. And it's doing a crossover with Dredge right now, which is kooky to me because
those games sort of occupy similar spaces in my mind.
But Dave the Diver's such a lighthearted romp.
Having not played either of them.
Dredge being a pretty dark survival game, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I say we push Shadows of Doubt forward.
Yeah, it's going to get eviscerated next round, but...
All right, so the end of round one, Baldur's Gate 3 versus Wolong Fallen Dynasty. So... No, it's not a challenge. Baldur's Gate 3 wins. But I do want to shout out Wolong Fallen Dynasty because...
Wolong was good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot you played it too,
Yeah,
Connor.
I didn't finish it, but I also it was such a PS2 game in 2023.
I played a good chunk of it. Yeah, it was a blast from the past. And plus, shout out to Team Ninja, right? They're Neo, Wolong, they've just got, they've sort of branched off of the Souls-like and created their own sort of niche. And they do it so well. I'll say it again, gameplay in Neo is the best Souls-like gameplay, period. Including Dark Souls games. They just nailed the gameplay there. I did think the gameplay in Wolong was a bit of a downgrade from Neo, but it was still quite good, I thought.
Wolong was so weird for me because I was playing it. I think I told the story on the podcast. I missed how to heal. I never learned how to heal before beating the first boss. And I was like, man, this game got hard.
Yeah.
And I was super into it or something. And then And I beat the first boss without healing, I'm pretty sure. And then I learned how to heal after that, and I was like, oh man, that boss was really easy.
No, but like it has those moments, man. Like I know you didn't get there, but I forget the name of the boss now, but like there's this boss in the middle of the game that is a true like sort of test of skill, like a Melania kind of boss.
Yeah,
right?
Everything after that first boss was kind of a cakewalk for me. It felt like the parry was too easy to perform or something.
Yeah, I think in general the game is easier than Neo.
Yeah.
And which is fine, right? Like I still think I think some of the bosses can be really challenging. Like, you know, like the boss I was talking about in our episode where we discussed Wolong. Go back and listen to that if you're interested in hearing more. But like that boss really, like, I was just like, if there are more bosses like this in this game, this is a really, really incredible game. Because that was a phenomenal boss fight. And I don't know. It was just fun, like running around on like the battlefield, you know, like going through the levels, like fighting these like mythical creatures and like these samurai and stuff. Like I just think Wolong is a really good game, and it just continues Team Ninja's streak of like putting out bangers, I think.
Yeah, it's good. The only complaint I really have about it, I don't know why I stopped playing it. I think other stuff came out.
It's just too much this year, man. Like that's the reason.
My only complaint, it felt like there were so many systems that I wasn't engaging with. Like there was a whole magic system.
There were, yeah.
That I just never touched because I didn't understand why I would. I maybe once the game got harder, or was that like a way to make the game easier, sort of like in Souls games, or did you engage with it at all?
No, the magic, not really.
Did you beat the game?
No. Okay. No. I got further than you for sure, but like I didn't beat the game.
I didn't get that far. I was in like World 4 or whatever.
Yeah, it was a little bloated with mechanics that didn't need to be there. Like, I think if it really focused in on its melee combat, it would have been a better game. But
it also, like, you just get the story was weird and out of nowhere, kind of. Like, it felt like the game expected me to understand it, and I didn't.
It felt like a PS2 game, like you said. Yeah,
and like you would suddenly have these like groups of people working with you, and I was like, whatever, man. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's roll out.
Yeah, and I wasn't like viewing it as like some difficulty like a Souls game, so I kept them with me. I wasn't worried about it.
I don't know, like to me, like it is a good game. I will say that the only reason I have like a disappointed inflection in my voice is because I think it is a clear step down from Neo 2, which is just a masterpiece of a game.
Yeah,
like that is an all-timer video game.
Is that a PlayStation exclusive?
I think it's PlayStation PC.
Okay, I've never even looked at it, so.
Yeah, Neo 2 is phenomenal.
I might check it out sometime.
And Wolong really good, but like I think they got rid of some things from Neo 2 that they probably shouldn't have.
Baldur's Gate 3 did let me seduce a lizard lady, though.
Yeah, so Baldur's Gate 3 wins.
Easy win for Baldur's Gate 3, yeah.
All right, we are done with round 1. So, first round of round 2, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon.
Yeah, you ready?
No way, these are two good games that I really like this year. Like, my personal game of the year is Armored Core 6 because I keep thinking about it.
Oh, is it really? Like, okay.
I love this game to death, and I think it's like probably one of the best games released this year. But
I'm not going to give it to you over Tears of the Kingdom, but it is a brilliant game. Tears of the Kingdom is just...
I have to give it to Tears of the Kingdom.
I can build an Armored Core in Tears of
the Kingdom, so it's a good game.
So true. But also, Tears of the Kingdom convinced you, a Breath of the Wild hater, that
I was also a FromSoft hater, right? So obviously, this is a year to be proven wrong.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like FromSoft games. Armored Core was like...
I thought you always...
I haven't been...
You like the old
my first
Armored
Armored Core. The fact that it grabbed me that hard was amazing.
I should have known that. Yeah. But Tears of the Kingdom... I don't know, man. Is this the time? No.
Should we wait? Because I feel like the Tears of the Kingdom will kind of move up a little bit past this.
The Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, I think me and you are both going to vote for Tears of the Kingdom.
I'd make it unanimous for Tears of the Kingdom. As much as I loved Armored Core 6, like, it doesn't hold a candle to Tears of the Kingdom. It don't matter its flaws.
So do we just want to move this We talked a lot about Armored Core earlier, so maybe we just move Tears of the Kingdom and move on.
I think we'll say our piece about Tears of the Kingdom later, and we've kind of already said our piece about Armored Core, which, Armored Core is a great game. Shout outs to From Software. They don't miss ever.
Yeah.
All right, Tears of the Kingdom, moving on.
Alan Wake 2 versus Pikmin 4.
You're going to have to kill one of your babies here.
This is a painful one for me. Pikmin 4 does not make it through this. Pikmin 4 is...
I was thinking the same thing, right? Like, Pikmin 4 is an immaculately constructed game, but Alan Wake 2 is a special, once in a sort of generation kind of game.
Pikmin 4 also, a brilliant little game, super fun. Like, it has this idea of what its gameplay is, and it is just like, this game is fun, and you will not engage with it any deeper than that at any point, and that is fine. Like Mike said, there's room in the world for games like that, for your Armored Core 6 and your Pikmin 4. I would put them in similar categories in that way. But I am someone who wants a game that is going to sit with me, and Alan Wake 2 is that game. Alan Wake 2 is brilliant. I don't even know. I think I'm gonna have to defend it pretty hard against Tears of the Kingdom in the next round. So I kind of want to just say Alan Wake 2 wins this and move on. If that's
no objections here.
No eulogy.
It's just
for
so
Pikmin
tough.
4. I love that
wish
game, but
I really wish I had played Alan Wake 2 before this discussion. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
you good with that, Mike? You didn't play either of these, right? Yeah.
All right. Hi-Fi Rush versus Street Fighter 6. So
this is I don't have an opinion on this one, really. I
mean,
play
it's
enough
tough too, because I played little bits of each of these games, and from what I've played, I would definitely vote Street Fighter 6.
I think I lean Street Fighter 6 too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Plus the fact that Street Fighter 6 is going to live on for a long time, right? It's going to be in fighting game tournaments like EVO for the next several years. It's going to get new characters for the next several years. It is seen by many as one of, if not the peaks of the entire franchise, right? People are comparing it to Street Fighter 2.
I think
so.
So what I'm going to say about this, Street Fighter 6 is a game I intend to pick up, I think, and play. Whereas Hi-Fi Rush is a game I've already played and do not know if I will finish. And so I lean Street Fighter 6 for that reason, if that makes sense.
I mean, you don't have to convince me. I was ready to put Starfield over Hi-Fi Rush, so.
You good with Street Fighter 6, Mike?
Yeah, I'm fine with this.
All right. Street Fighter 6.
All right, as usual, we were just cruising after round one.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. We've already sort of discussed everything.
Yeah, well, I don't want to dive into... I don't want to say a bunch about one of these games when... I have a lot to say about Tears of the Kingdom, but I want to say it at the finale.
So this last one, just move
Shadows
it up.
of Doubt versus Baldur's Gate 3.
Move it up. Why not? We'll put.
All right, I'll move up Shadows of Doubt.
Shadows of Doubt on the game of the year when it actually comes out too, because I feel like I'll talk about it more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Shadows of Doubt gets another chance because
it'll get another chance when it actually releases full release, and I guarantee you it'll be a great game. But it isn't Baldur's Gate.
So
this is a rough year for any
Baldur's Gate was such a.
It's this is a rough year for
it is,
games that are good but aren't masterpieces.
So now,
see, the problem is just to piggyback off that, Mike. I feel like we have 3 masterpieces in contention for Game of the Year.
Can we start with the Baldur's Gate
problem.
Street Fighter 6 one? Because I think I already know the answer. Let's
start
with that one. All right, so Street Fighter 6, I love you, I respect you, but you're not Baldur's Gate 3,
Let's get the easy one out of the way.
So Baldur's Gate 3, as expected, sitting pretty in the finals. Kind of had an easy bracket, unlike the other side of the bracket, but
yeah, it is. There are Breath of the Wild might have beaten Baldur's Gate 3 for me, but Outer Wilds would beat Baldur's Gate 3 for me. But there's it's one
very
of the best games.
There's
I've ever
very
played.
few games in existence that can compete. Honestly, it's just that good.
And 2 of them are on this list.
All right, so we're doing this.
Yeah.
We're in this. Last round of the semifinals. Alan Wake 2 versus Tears of the Kingdom.
My vote goes Alan Wake 2 on this.
So it's just so tough because I've not played Alan Wake 2. So when people tell me it's this amazing game that will stick with you, I believe them. But I've played the other amazing game that will stick with me, right?
And you haven't finished it, which is really
annoying. I haven't finished it. Yeah.
The only parts of Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion, that are good enough to get it past Alan Wake 2 are the opening and the ending.
See, I think with Tears of the Kingdom,
I don't know.
It is the ideal sequel. It did everything Breath of the Wild did, but better in every single way.
Some people disagree with that. I have talked to people that way prefer Breath of the Wild over Tears of the Kingdom, and it always comes down to the power set, right? Like if you don't jive with kind of the Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts nature of Tears of the Kingdom, you're not going to dig it as much. But if that power set clicks with you, it's just a limitless sandbox.
So let me tell you Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the King, I have never been disappointed by a better game than Tears of the Kingdom, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you're hung up on this lore thing, right?
I'm not hung up on the lore thing. I am, but that's not all of it. Tears of the Kingdom is a better game than Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild was a better experience because I didn't already know what this Hyrule was. Hyrule did not change meaningfully between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. There was nothing worth discovering in Tears of the Kingdom. In the entire game, there is nothing.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I really enjoyed... I still enjoy exploring underground and above the sky, right? And finding, labyrinths. I finally did my first labyrinth, and that was awesome. It took me through all 3 layers of the world.
There's no questions, and there's definitely no answers. Breath of the Wild, you could explore, and it was this world. It had a history. There were questions. Who were the Zonai? What was going on here?
I just don't care, man. I'm sorry. That's not why I play Zelda.
I think it's
not even a factor for me
here.
And it's not even just okay. So it is the lore a little bit. It's not the timeline. Everybody wants to say that people hate Tears of the Kingdom because it's not on the timeline. Tears of the Kingdom is frustrating because it has killed the career of every Zelda lore YouTuber.
Yeah, okay.
It is frustrating.
Zelda lore YouTubers didn't have a real career. They just kind of made it up as they went along. They're not real.
Okay, that's fair. No, Zeltic made a lot of money. Zeltic is a good YouTube channel, and it's dead in the water now.
Confused now because they're there's no lore.
It's not confusing. So Nintendo, it's not even so much that Zelda needed a story. It's that it would have been so much better if they bothered at all, and they didn't. This game is not, it's bad that it's not consistent with the previous Zelda games. It is unforgivable that it's not even consistent with Breath of the Wild. It is ridiculous. There are characters that you spend a ton of time with in Breath of the Wild that do not remember you in Tears of the Kingdom. There are events that happened in Breath of the Wild that have zero ramifications in Tears of the Kingdom. There are questions asked in Breath of the Wild out loud in the story that get deeply unsatisfying answers in Tears of the Kingdom. The Zonai are the biggest wet blanket of any reveal I've ever seen. They're so boring. The 8 heroines get wrapped up in Tears of the Kingdom, and they were just 8 people. There was nothing interesting about them. All this stuff. And then Nintendo and Zelda, one of the biggest gaming franchises in the world. And they come up and they say, oh, we don't want to feel constrained by the world that we've built. And it's a nonsense answer because, it doesn't have to fit on the timeline. But for what it's worth, every Zelda game that has come out since Ocarina of Time has been direct sequels or prequels to each other. There are with no exceptions. They have clearly fit into a timeline with each other. And you can throw that away.
Because there was no timeline until Skyward Sword came out.
That's not true. Ocarina of Time, direct sequel, Majora's Mask. Direct sequel to Ocarina of Time in the other timeline is Wind Waker. It alludes to Ocarina of Time.
That was all
direct sequel.
fan speculation.
No, it's not.
It
is in the text. No, it is official canon. It is in the text of Wind Waker that it takes place after the Hero of Time. He is name dropped in the game.
Yeah, but like the whole split timeline thing wasn't a thing until they really sort of made it a thing.
No, Nintendo had talked about it before the timeline came out. This is not. These are things that were very clear in the text of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. Twilight Princess exists as a sequel to Ocarina of Time.
You also have to remember there are like
unsuccessful.
6 games that came out before Ocarina of Time that had to just be artificially placed on the timeline.
That's true, and they don't fit on the timeline. But Nintendo spent 20 years.
And one of those was one of the best games in the Zelda franchise.
Yeah, and then they decided to just. And it's not even that we got anything good out of them flushing it down the toilet. The narrative
I really think
of Tears of the Kingdom is miserable.
I really think the timeline is a complete afterthought to the people at Nintendo.
It is.
I really don't. It think is. They
but what
care,
I'm telling
right?
you
like,
is,
so they put out these little
20
snippets
years
to appease
making
people
it.
who are like really into this kind of stuff, right? I don't know.
They spent 20 years adhering to a fairly linear timeline. And then threw it away for nothing.
There's 3
1997.
There's 3.
There's 2 timelines. No, one of the timeline is they just needed somewhere to put the games that came out before Ocarina of Time.
They decided they needed 3 timelines. So it's not exactly linear. And then they decided the Wind Waker timeline kind of disappeared after the DS era. And they're like, oh, wait, we don't know where we're going to put after any of these games because, Ganon's dead.
Okay, but there are consistent narrative devices that have been used in every Zelda game, like Ganon/Ganondorf. Every single game before Tears of the Kingdom, it's been the same dude that you can trace back to Ocarina of Time. Every single game that Ganon or Ganondorf have appeared in, you can trace a line very clearly and easily back to Ganondorf and Ocarina of Time. And they said, oh, we have Ganondorf in this game, but he's just a different dude. That wasn't that one. It's just unsatisfying. They could have used a different villain. They could have. There's just a million very easy narrative fixes for this. They could have not had it take place at the founding of Hyrule. Because 1, they do nothing with that. They don't bother to do anything with that setting. So why did they do it? Why did they waste it on this game? It's just a deeply unsatisfying story that just kind of hurts Breath of the Wild's legacy. And that's very frustrating because it has a lot of cool stuff I can't talk about because it's spoilers for Amid.
No, you can. Just give me a warning if you want to do it now.
No, it's just not good enough for it to be worth. It doesn't beat Alan Wake 2.
I'm honestly I'm voting for Tears of the King. I'm going to give Amid the tiebreaker here.
Man, I don't know. If I had played Alan Wake 2, I might feel differently. But I
don't think you would
Tears of the Kingdom.
because you just don't care about.
This is a heartbreaker, Connor.
I just don't understand how you can. I don't understand how a person can feel any satisfaction exploring the world of Tears of the Kingdom, knowing that there's nothing worth discovering.
I got satisfaction from that.
There are no questions to answer. There are no answers to find.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about answers to lore related questions, but the answer to the question, oh, what's over that hilltop, or oh, what's in that cave? Those questions are enough for me to keep playing that game.
What can I do with these mechanics?
But it doesn't bother you at all to go down into the depths and you find this whole world that was under Hyrule the entire time, and you wonder, oh wow, does this matter at all? And the answer is just a resounding no. I mean, none of it mattered.
The idea definitely crosses my mind, but I know what game I'm playing, right? I don't expect answers to these questions from Zelda.
Zelda's never had
right.
But they've been there in every other game.
Zelda's never had this really deep lore that.
But it's not. It's not really at the forefront, though, right?
Lore is never at the forefront. Dark Souls lore, I would argue, is very important to those games, but it's not.
I mean,
in Dark Souls, I care immensely.
The thing about
Zelda
I
guess
it's
just some subtle differences in the presentation or something.
Never been the forefront or the main focus, and it's kind of been an afterthought. And that's fine. They don't need. If the story's good, you don't need to spend 3 hours telling me the story of the time Ganondorf was born. The
story's not good. The Tears of the Kingdom story is the story's actually good, but its delivery is
that's
downright
every other
atrocious.
Zelda game.
You watch the same.
But again,
that's not fair.
Story
People
lore,
love the story.
Not really what I need from Zelda.
People will die
as much as I love Ocarina of Time.
I think that Ocarina of Time story is mid.
As much as I love Ocarina of Time and I think it's cool, its story is there.
Yeah, I couldn't give a crap about the story in Ocarina of Time.
Lots of people are ready to die.
I don't know why they're ready to die.
It's extremely
That's wild. Like,
that's questionable.
Guys, there are video games out there with phenomenal stories, but Zelda is not one of them. Like, that's
Tears of the Kingdom could have been. Tears of the Kingdom easily, if they'd had one person on the staff who cared. Tears of the Kingdom could have been a brilliant story.
The next round, which we already know what it is. We're now on the
Baldur's Gate 3 clears. Tears of the Kingdom doesn't stand a chance.
But I need to give Tears of the Kingdom its fair share.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to give it its fair shake and talk about that ending, because we've been like edging it for 8 months.
Okay,
All right, I'm gonna hop off now. I'm saying this clearly now, so when I'm editing, I don't screw myself. And just text me on Discord when it's safe.
All right, will do. All right. So
okay, bye.
The way it ended, like that whole build up to Ganon was perfection.
Yeah, no, I mean, starting when you dive into the hole.
The music
oh my god,
building.
The build up.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good, and the like Avengers moment when you're like facing down an army and like, and it was so cheesy.
So
it was like the corniest thing in the world. But I think it's the little bird guy's like, you didn't think you'd have to do this alone, did you? And then like all of your dudes show up and start fighting with you.
Because at that point, all your spirits had left you, so you were alone. And like,
yeah, exactly. And for the first time in the game, I had the spirits out most of the game because I thought that was neat.
It felt empty.
And
then
oh my god, yeah,
you fight that whole battle, and then like it's not over. You have to go and fight Ganon in what is.
You have to go fight Ganondorf, and he's a good fight. He's like, he has your moveset.
Challenging boss fight in that game. And after I got to like the end of stage 2, I'm just like, oh god, I'm gonna die if I don't hit him with this last arrow.
No,
it was legitimately
and
tense.
Like if you were paying attention, the twist at the end. If you were paying attention, you saw it coming a mile away. But he eats the stone. He eats the secret stone, and suddenly. You're fighting a giant an immortal dragon Ganondorf, and suddenly the light dragon, aka Zelda, swoops in to help you fight him.
So cool. And it's so much better than the end of Breath of the Wild.
And oh my god, yes. It sticks the landing perfect. And like the whole narrative, the reason I'm so mad about the narrative is because it actually is a brilliant story that Zelda is in the past doing actions that 10,000 years later, or whatever, I don't actually know what the timeline is, however long later, thousands and thousands of years later, the ramifications of what she did is going to help you. But all of them are silly, except her turning herself into a dragon to recharge the Master Sword that you use to fight Ganon on her back, and she actually shows up and helps in the fight as a dragon. All of that is so good. The music
of that fight is just... it's
my
like
God.
My favorite piece of music in all of Zelda, honestly.
The music is brilliant. And like the gameplay, it's easy. It's an easy, like it is a cathartic release after the extremely difficult fight against Ganondorf.
The fact that Ganondorf can flurry rush your flurry rushes is nuts. Like that surprised me. But I legitimately cried.
Putting the skydiving and the skydiving being part of the final boss, and then you kill the dragon. There's a huge nuclear bomb goes off to kill him. And this is another thing. The narrative symmetry that the game ends with the exact same Link diving to catch Zelda from the very beginning moments of the game, but this time he catches her.
Zelda's lullaby kicks on. And it's just such an emotional payoff for like that whole story.
And that's just so brilliant. And it clearly shows that they knew how they could have done better. And they chose not to. And that
every single boss in that game felt good. Like, there was not a single boss that was like, this is just lame.
Oh, yeah. They were all very fun.
Some of them were frustrating. Yeah. Shout out to Muck the Rock. But
I would say the gameplay in Tears of the Kingdom was just immaculate the whole time I was playing it. I never had any complaints.
At no point was I like, this is just a bad... Why am I fighting this? It just feels bad. No,
it was really... My beef with this game is that it could have been the best game I ever played.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
But it was good. It was like...
It was really good.
I keep thinking about that ending, and I haven't gone back to it after I finished the game purely because like nothing can top that anymore. I literally can't touch the game. There's no point.
Yeah. No, it's actually kind of hard to go back and play the shrines. Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts before we call Ahmed back in?
Call Ahmed back in.
Oh, he's still on the call. I hope he gets the notification.
Oh boy, it sure was crazy when Zelda turned Super Saiyan and killed Ganondorf, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Just to give you the gist of what I said, the reason I have so many issues with Tears of the Kingdom is that the ending proves it could have been the best video game I've ever played, and they chose
for Baldur's
not to.
Gate, has any of us made it past Act 1? Okay,
yes.
I'm in Act 2.
I am at the very end of Act 2, I think.
I'm back in the beginning of Act 1, and I modded it.
Wow.
That's why Baldur's Gate 3 is the game of the year 2023,
I've actually modded it, so I have like 6 party
At this
members.
rate, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be the game of the year 24, 25, and 26, because it's just never going to end.
It's so good. Like, there are just so many options. In Act 2, I talked 3, I think, different bosses into killing themselves instead of fighting them.
I reset my game
That's
and I
up.
put in a mod that allows me to have 6 party members because I'm bad at tactical games.
Yeah, you told me.
I'm just bad
awesome.
at tactical games, and I want it to be easier.
It might make the combat.
I want to have fun.
That's fair.
It is kind of implied, isn't it, that like all of them are with you, right? Because they all talk about events that happen. It's just that only 4 of them can be in, or 4 of you can be in combat.
It's a game balance thing.
And so
you can only have the 4.
I've completely destroyed game balance when I have fun and enjoy my story instead of like getting wrecked by every single goblin tribe because I'm bad at D&D.
That's super fair. I did have to kind of get good at Baldur's Gate.
That's the sort of whole mentality of Baldur's Gate 3 is just play it however you want to
exactly,
play it.
Like a lot
so
of,
it totally fits. Yeah.
Like I would have something to say about somebody installing a mod to make like Elden Ring easier, but Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of hard. And it doesn't need to be. Like, it's hard, and I'm glad that it's hard because I'm getting a lot out of that experience.
I think it's hard up to... Well, I can't say that because I'm probably not even halfway through the game, but I definitely felt like it was hard up to a point. But, like, when your characters get leveled enough, they just become, like, killing machines.
That's a problem in just normal D&D, too, where, like, characters get... Like, the difference between level 5 and level 7, gigantic. You get so strong. Like, so, it's... I don't know, but I have so much love for Baldur's Gate 3. I love that this game just came out of nowhere for me. Like, I did not have it on my radar at all. And then it came out and started getting like 10 out of 10 and like, you know, a 96 or 97 on Metacritic or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I got to play this game.
So, yeah, I had played Divinity Original Sin 2, which I enjoyed quite a bit. And I knew Larian is making Baldur's Gate 3, right? But like, it was just one of those games. It's like, oh, I bet it'll be good, right? Like, that's what I thought when I heard this game was coming out. But like you said, it was a case of where it was so good, you couldn't ignore it. Like, on its own merits, the game was just so freaking good. Like, it grabbed everyone's attention.
Very rare
it sucked all the air out of the room.
Like, a smaller studio can grab everyone's attention. And this is a studio that's just well known for making the same type of game over and over and getting really good at it.
Yeah.
At it. And it shows.
I mean, it's hard to even talk about Baldur's Gate 3 because it's so deep.
And like,
but like,
there's things that people like say I could see a bit of dialogue that no one else will ever see.
I don't know about nobody else, but it does feel that way, right?
Like certain scenes.
It feels that way, right? Like, I was talking to my friend Josh about like how I found the Last Light in Act 2. My experience was 100% different from his.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just the big stuff. It's the little stuff can be so different. Like, it's why... Were you about to tell us how you found the Last Light in? I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
Oh, no. That was it. I mean, I could tell you if you want.
I'm kind of curious because
Yeah, so I ventured into the Shadow Curse lands from, like, the place where you clear the Githyanki Crash, right?
Okay, that's the same way I went in.
Okay, so that's not how Josh went in.
Oh, did he come from the Underdark?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, I actually no. He came from the Goblin camp.
Oh, yeah. That's you have to go through the Underdark.
But yeah. So I
totally missed the Underdark. I was in the Shadowfell before I discovered the Underdark.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I got, I guess, captured or wandered upon this Goblin camp, and they were waiting for I guess me, right? Because they believe I'm like the acolyte of the absolute or whatever. And so I managed to convince them, like, hey, take me to Moonrise Towers.
Okay, so this is exactly how I did it too. Yeah.
And then I get ambushed by the people at the Last Light Inn, right? So then I turn on the goblins and the spider thing escorting me.
Yeah.
And I join the people at the Last Light Inn. So,
dude,
which is what you did.
Yeah, and I deeply regret what I did right after it and I didn't want to save Scum. I knew that this was going to happen, but I didn't want to save Scum. I was like convinced the Last Light Inn was eventually going to be an inn where I could like pay a fee and like not have to use resources to camp. And so I was like, I must have to progress the story a little further. And I progressed the story a little further, and one thing led to the next, and every man, woman, and child in the Last Light Inn died except for my party.
Oh, no way.
Yes, every single one of them. And I ended Karlach's quest is no longer attainable because the person I needed is dead.
Oh, man. So she's like going to die.
Yeah,
right?
she's going to explode. Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yep, and there's nothing I can do about it as far as I know, unless somebody pops up in Baldur's Gate to fix it. And it's just crazy that was like, and it was kind of hard because I kept dying in the scenario that I was getting myself into, and I was like, I don't want to use the knowledge that this thing happens to like go grind, you know. So I played through it until I was able to escape and like kill the enemy, but I was not able to save anyone from the Last Light Inn. They all died.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, and it sucked.
Yeah,
and that makes
keep an eye on. Because it sounds like things are going to pop off for me soon, so I'll have to be careful.
Letting that happen also makes the rest of Act 2 more difficult because the people at the Last Light Inn would have helped you, and they're all dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Since I basically cleared most of Act 1, and then I realized since I forgot Lizelle, she was kind of sitting dead in front of some like level 15 Githyanki. So I had to
crazy,
fight them
man.
to get
yeah. She just died off screen. Like what?
Revive her and then get her out of the Githyanki issue, and the Githyanki would just murder me.
That's crazy.
Dude, Lae'zel's like the MVP of my squad. She's so strong.
Oh, really? Mine's Karlach for sure. Karlach and Gale. Like Gale having Fireball, that's goated, and Karlach she keeps hitting.
Having 6 people.
I feel like
I've cut through entire like squads of enemies with Lae'zel alone. She's like so powerful.
She is extremely strong.
Myself from a fighter into a monk in my style. So
that's probably really strong.
So you're doing like hand to hand.
Monks just attack so
and
many
also
times, don't they?
There's a feat
don't they get like 3?
Absolutely broken for unarmed attacks.
Yeah,
and I get a free one on every attack.
See, there's just so many. I'm playing a sorcerer on my playthrough. I want to do a Dark Urge playthrough. I want to do
which will be completely different, right? Different. Just by nature of like,
because
everyone's dying around you. You know,
it's the first game I've played that asks you to role play that I feel like I'm actually kind of role playing someone other than myself too. Like I'm playing kind of a rascal with a heart of gold, and like, he'll steal, he'll lie, and he's very good at both of those. But he's not going to let anybody die over it, that kind of character. I think it's a very it's not an interesting character. I don't think it's something a lot of people play, but or not. It is interesting. It's not original, is what I meant to say. But it's fun. Like usually, I'm just like, oh, I wouldn't steal from this person, so I don't do it. Or
it really feels like the dream RPG, the RPG we all imagined.
Yeah,
like growing up, like what we would think the ideal RPG is. It's Baldur's Gate 3.
And what's so weird, excuse me, usually I feel like an RPG is carried by its story, and Baldur's Gate 3 is, but it's not the big story.
Yeah.
It's the little stories. And the little stories can be one combat encounter. Like, it's just so good.
It just feels like just the act of playing it, right? Because any situation can go any, like, which way, right? Like, it just, like, even if you're not experiencing the story at a macro level, on a micro level, every decision you make, every little thing you do, it feels like it matters because the world reacts to it. And just experiencing that is such a joy.
It's incredible to me that there are any Game of the Year lists without Baldur's Gate at the top of them. Like, it just seems like...
I mean, like, to be fair, right? Like, it is a tough year, but, like, I think Baldur's Gate 3 has, like, aggregate like the most, which is to be expected.
Yeah.
But you see lists with Alan Wake 2 at the top. Yeah. You see lists with Tears of the Kingdom at the top, you know? Like those two.
I think I saw one with Pikmin 4 too. Like, you know.
Yeah.
There are some niche
it's been a
games
great
that came
year
out
for
this
video
year.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
definitely think standing above them all is Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Which even in a year like this, right? Like probably the most competitive year ever in video games in terms of like critically acclaimed games. Mm-hmm. This game stands at the top as one of the best games ever made, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I think there's a world where, again, if Tears of the Kingdom had its story together and had like satisfying discovery, I think, like, in the way that you discover what happened in the past and everything, and a satisfying narrative in an open world, which has been proven possible. A lot of people say it's impossible, and then Outer Wilds executes on it perfectly.
Okay, Tears of the Kingdom, if Baldur's Gate did not reach the peaks that it did and blew up as such it would, we would be crowning it
that too.
Game of the Year. But since Baldur's Gate literally came out of absolutely nowhere for 90% of people that played it, it blindsided people.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Tears
I remember
of the Kingdom would be Games of the Year.
I remember last year we were sure.
Oh, certainly.
Last year we were sure it would be Zelda.
Yeah,
right. Like last year there was no question.
I think Baldur's Gate 3 just.
That's why I love video games, man. I love this kind of stuff. Seemingly, I don't want to say a no-name studio, but like it's not Nintendo or like Naughty Dog or whatever.
No,
right?
arguably an indie company.
They were indie.
Yeah, they come out of nowhere, and now they're
independent. Yeah,
you best believe that everyone is going to pay attention to Larian's next game, right?
Oh yeah, I can't imagine the pressure they're
Divinity
feeling.
Original Sin 3 or whatever is going to have a lot more sales than Original Sin 2.
Yeah, I can't imagine the pressure on that team right now.
Larian's been making the same kind of games since 2002.
Yeah, they're a master of like kind of like the D&D like, right? But like Baldur's Gate just took it to a new level. Right, because I played Original Sin 2, and you can definitely feel a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 in the Original Sin 2, but Baldur's Gate just elevates it so much. But I will say, right, like if you really enjoy Baldur's Gate 3, give Divinity Original Sin 2 a shot.
Yeah,
like,
in 100 years when you finally finish Baldur's Gate 3.
Like,
yeah.
But that's another game where you can have like a sort of D&D campaign with your friends, you know? Like,
also,
it's just nowhere near in depth as Baldur's Gate 3.
Look up your local, hobby shop. What are they? I don't even know what they're called. There will be shops that sell board games and D&D stuff and play some D&D.
450 employees.
Yeah, I was going to say they're independent, but they're not small.
Yeah. I mean, by definition, they're independent because they don't have a publisher.
Yeah, it's self-funded, so they're independent in the same way Valve is independent.
They've been releasing Divinity and other and just general RPGs.
Yeah. Now I will say, Baldur's Gate 3 probably couldn't come from any other place than an independent studio. I can't imagine a publisher picking this game up. I mean, now in retrospect, it's easy to think that, but
right, yeah,
pitching this game would have been impossible. And thinking that even this game being as excellent as it is, I'm shocked that it has found this broad audience that it has.
Yeah, it really it became mainstream. Like the same thing, I remember saying the same thing last year with the Elden Ring. Like I'm shocked a From Software game is this mainstream. I'm shocked D&D. Like a D&D video game is this mainstream.
Yeah.
Like and plus D&D has just been
what a glow up, yeah.
In general been picking up, right? Like there was that D&D movie and like just in general everyone knows what D&D is now. No, but I hear it's really good.
It's excellent. It's so good. I've seen it twice now. It's so
yeah,
good.
I got to watch it.
And I'm not a movie rewatcher. I love that movie.
Yeah, I mean like that's the crazy thing, right, man? Like D&D has been around for decades, but somehow some way it feels like it's bigger than it's ever been in 2023.
It is. It has been so niche. Stranger Things did a lot for it. I'll credit that. But even when I was in high school, I remember trying to get into D&D. Like it was the contrarian thing to try to get into. I feel like if you wanted, like if being an outcast was part of your aesthetic, you wanted to be into D&D.
It was always kind of like that. Oh, let's go like hide away in this basement, secluded from everyone else, and play D&D. Right? Like it was.
It doesn't have to be that anymore, which is
it's
just
not.
Brilliant.
It's not that anymore. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a popular game now.
Yeah, like I go week. I don't play D&D yet. I haven't put a game together since I just moved to Pittsburgh. But I go weekly to a shop called Mimics Market, which is it's a D&D reference, and they have D&D stuff. They have a ton of board games and everything. And I go there every Thursday, hang out, play some board games. I'm waiting to put a D&D group together there, and a lot of shops locally. Like if you're looking to get into it, that's probably your best bet is to look at local shops because they'll teach you how to play. They often I think Mimics Market will even give you character sheets and stuff if you don't have a printer, and it's great. Spend some money while you're there. There's usually snacks, or you could buy the D&D books there. And plug the Mimics Market to any listeners in Pittsburgh. They're in Bloomfield, I think is what it's called. I don't know the neighborhoods here. Sorry.
But yeah, like it's easier than ever to get involved in the D&D campaign.
Yeah.
Like even like online ones. You know,
yeah.
Like
Roll
especially
20.
I know during COVID that became really popular.
Yeah, it's not. I will say if that's your only option, do it. But an in-person, there's nothing like an in-person D&D game.
Yeah. But yeah, man, Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3
Yeah,
wins Game of the Year 2023.
Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, Game of the Year 2023.
So much love for that game.
Kind of an expected result, but like,
I kind of made up my mind months ago that Baldur's Gate 3. Although, is Baldur's Gate 3 your personal Game of the Year, Ahmed?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Can't beat. Well, I want you to guess. What do you think my Game of the Year is?
I mean, yours is Alan Wake 2.
It is not.
Yours is
Outer Wilds on the Nintendo Switch, baby.
Okay, all right, yeah.
No, it's Baldur's Gate 3. No, Alan Wake 2 is not my Game of the Year. Yeah,
I'm actually curious, Mike. Your Game of the
Armored
Year
Core 6.
is still Armored Core over Baldur's Gate.
Like I loved Baldur's Gate's good. It's great. I acknowledge that it is the Game of the Year, but like I feel like what is our personal games of the year outside of Baldur's Gate?
So if we're not including Baldur's Gate,
Alan Wake 2.
I would go with Zelda.
Yeah, so we all have 3 different games that are like our personal like favorite games of the year, but we all acknowledge that Baldur's Gate is objectively
Baldur's Gate 3 is also my personal favorite game. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is also my personal favorite game of the year. So like I would pick that, but if we're excluding Baldur's Gate 3, I would say
objectively it
Zelda.
is the best game released this year. And I think it's kind of unanimous among all critics at this point. It's really the Godzilla -1 of 2023.
Yeah, the Godzilla
also
-1
a goated
movie. I laughed. I cried.
Yeah, man. I'm mad I didn't see it in theaters.
I saw it in IMAX.
I gotta see
Still
it.
in theaters.
My
a shame.
IMAX stopped showing it.
Yeah. They only showed it. They didn't show it much.
Watched it like the other day.
I went to a 4 o'clock Monday showing.
Yeah, I went to a 4:15 showing
so.
in a standard at the theater. Nice.
I'm gonna have to sell for like the Blu-ray.
Oh, it's so.
I'm an IMAX hater, by the way.
Such a good movie.
Certified.
Like
it is.
I legitimately cried during the movie. Like actual tears in my eyes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, no, I hear it's man.
No, I love Godzilla -1. No pesky politics, no pesky narrative, just a man who hates a lizard.
Yeah, that simplifies it.
And
a
lizard
who
really
hates man.
No, it's actually a pretty beautiful, deep story.
Godzilla is just a trauma. The Godzilla is the trauma here.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to point out that I know Mike got a little scorned by the seeding. This was randomly seeded, other than Baldur's Gate and Tears of the Kingdom, for what it's worth. But I am not upset with the way this bracket went. None of the. I'm not upset with any of these. I don't think. Even the Tears of the Kingdom.
I knew Shadows of the Doubt or Armored Core 6 wouldn't make it that far. Like I don't feel that scorned.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, it's almost feeling like our console episode was the anomaly, right?
No, we've done a lot of our Mario bracket. Is
I feel like we could have put Starfield anywhere on this bracket, and it wouldn't make it past round 1. Like Cocoon would have cleared it.
No,
which is wild.
No, it would be Hogwarts Legacy for me. I would have fought pretty hard for Hogwarts Legacy to lose to Starfield, but
I would put Starfield over Hi-Fi. I really would.
Yeah, no,
but
that's what we already had though. So
I don't
Starfield
know,
over Hi-Fi. Oh, Starfield lost. Yeah, Hi-Fi beat Starfield.
No, yeah, Hi-Fi beat Starfield. Yeah,
so
because you said you were spiting Starfield. Remember?
Yeah.
Bethesda just can't.
I just like Hi-Fi Rush. I think Bethesda also made Hi-Fi Rush, I believe.
No, they didn't. It wasn't Bethesda, was it?
I thought it was. They published it, maybe.
Published it.
Yeah. But I think it was who owns Bethesda. I'm pretty sure.
No, it was
I'm looking at
Tango Gameworks.
It was published by Bethesda. Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Published by Bethesda, developed by Tango.
Okay.
I hate Bethesda.
Whoa, you're gonna have to choose a different podcast for that kind of language, buddy.
I get one.
He gets one.
Oh my god, it's PG-13.
That's so.
I'll just I get one as F-bomb? Explicit on the release.
Just cut it for
out.
PG-13 just bleep me out. Just.
I just like giving you a hard time.
No, bleeping is way more work. I'm gonna leave it in.
I hate that Bethesda's everywhere.
You know, just on a meta note, I've been putting less and less effort into editing these things because I don't really think it matters in the grand scheme of things.
I think it would if we.
I used to spend 3+ hours per episode editing, just listening, making sure all the ums and uhs are cut out. And
that's too much.
I feel like it's fine. You know,
Ghostwire Tokyo and The Evil Within 1 and 2. What?
Yeah. Tango. Yeah.
Like for this editing,
that's right.
I think the most editing I would do is edit out you and me when I talked over you at the end of round 1 thing. You don't want to remind anybody of their parents.
Oh, whatever, man. We'll see. Yeah, I'll have to be careful and dance around the spoilers.
Yeah, I know.
For me,
that'll be tricky.
So,
did you not? I mean, jot down a timestamp?
What's funny is it won't be tricky. I'll know when it starts. I just don't know when it ends.
Yeah, no.
So
I thought you were going to write.
I'll be playing a little game there and trying to figure it out. I might just straight up stop editing the episode at that point and be like,
no, there'll be a big quiet spot on your.
Oh, there will be? Okay, cool.
On your side, right? Because you were still recording.
Yeah, see when you start
Oh, yeah, there will be on mine. Yeah. Fair. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so it should be all good. But anyway, do we have any games
I want
games we want to talk about?
I haven't been playing any games, but I do have something I want to plug. Do you guys want to go first?
I also have nothing.
I also haven't been playing anything because I dedicated a horrific amount of time to the Godot Wild 64 game jam. This is the 64th Godot Wild jam, not an N64 themed game jam. But I made a game called In a Cave that I'm going to have Ahmed link in the In a Dark Cave is what I called it. I came up with the title at the very end.
I know what I need to talk misnamed about. It.
Okay, but let me talk about this first. It was a 9-day game jam, and I spent the last week of my life I went pretty.
I was gonna say how many hours a day did you work on this thing?
So here was my Saturday. It started on Friday. I didn't do anything except think about it a little. It was evening, and I was busy. Saturday, I went to my grandma's. I took my tablet with me, and I drew out a map because I made a Metroidvania-ish game. It's really more of an action. No. It's lacking action. It's more of an adventure platformer. It honestly has a lot more in common with point-and-click adventure games, I would argue, than... It just doesn't have combat or a lot of movement upgrades or combat upgrades. But it is the Metroidvania format where you are exploring a labyrinth and you find items that unlock more areas for you to explore. And I was drawing that map at my grandma's, and then I continued drawing that on Sunday, and I think I might have fooled around a little bit. Monday is when I really buckled down, and it was 8 a.m. I get up. I work a full day until 4. I get off work. I open up Godot. I am doing game development until 10 o'clock. I take a brief break for dinner at some point in there. I did that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Saturday, I get up at 9:30. I am doing game development until midnight. I took one break to eat, I think. And I ate breakfast before I started. Sunday, I wake up at, I think, 7 a.m. and I start working. The game is due at 4 on Sunday. I work until 2 o'clock-ish. Mostly doing polish. I finished the game, quote unquote, at around noon, I think, and started doing polish, sound effects, stuff like that. And then 2 o'clock rolls around, and I realize, oh crap, I haven't played through this game. So I start doing a playthrough, And I realized, like, oh my god, I had all these bugs, and I was able to fix them and everything. And I think it came out fairly bug-free. And then it's like 3 o'clock or something.
Dang, so you only play tested it for like... You had like an hour or two to play test it, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I play tested it along the way a lot. But I built probably half of the game on Saturday without ever... I was just on a roll building. I didn't do any playing. And so obviously I found a lot of issues in the back half of the game when I was playtesting it. And this is not a small game. I think this game it'll be over 30 minutes to complete it. And that's really long for a jam game. I could see it taking an hour. I have familiarity with the map, so it's a little quicker for me. No, probably not an hour. But it's a long game for something made in 9 days. It's, I don't know. I'm very proud of it. I did all the art myself. I did all the code myself, other than obviously I used the Godot engine. I had to write my own shader because Godot's normal lighting was not satisfactory to me. I wanted, Godot does hard stops on lighting, and you couldn't even see the tiles I'd made in 2D because the light would stop the second it hit them, so you didn't get to see the tile set that I made. So I had to write a shader that let light bleed a little bit. That took a long time because I didn't know what a signed distance field is. Once I understood that, it was very easy actually, but it took an embarrassingly long time to get that working. And I was actually about to give up because my entire game idea didn't work. In a Dark Cave takes place in a dark cave where the only light you have most of the time is your flashlight. So it's a lot of platforming, but you can't necessarily see the whole screen at once. You have to point your flashlight, understand what's happening, and then execute on it without necessarily... You can either see where you're going to land or you can see where you're standing now. You probably can't see both at the same time. And so that creates some interesting stuff. You'll hear the enemies before you see them typically, and you have to point your flashlight around to find them. And because you can't see everything, it's very easy to totally miss a path that might have secrets in it. And there are some secrets hidden throughout. Save rooms that are handy to find but not totally necessary. Batteries to make your flashlight last longer. Your health is the battery in your flashlight. So when you get hit by an enemy, your time goes down. And it's a jam game. So it is very feasible to soft lock yourself if you save with a very low battery. I think it's unlikely. Yeah. It's not a very difficult game other than like navigating. The enemies do not hit very hard, but it is possible. And I'm really proud of how it turned out. It is one of the biggest games I've ever made. Probably not literally bigger than Perspectrum, because Perspectrum has many tile sets that Gabby made and everything. Definitely not bigger than Perspectrum, but probably the second biggest game I've made, including a game that I spent a month on. And I busted this out in 9 days by myself. I'm very proud. Yeah,
that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
And it was really I needed to... It's something I haven't done in so long. Like, I had to do it for college assignments sometimes, and I did a lot of game jams in college, but the feeling of just busting something out, like picking something ambitious you're going to do and making that happen. I had not done that in so long. The last game jam I did was in 2019, and it was not a particularly ambitious one. I was in a very large group and did a very small part of it. So, I don't know. I would not make another Metroidvania for a game jam unless it was a month long, probably. But I don't know. I'm happy with this game. I'm really glad I made it. So, In a Dark Cave. It's on itch.io. It's free. You do have to download it. I think it might have been possible to run it in the browser, but I figured since I'm doing save files and stuff, it's just easier for it to be a downloadable game.
Yeah. Link will be in the description of this episode, so definitely check it out.
Yeah, thanks. And leave a comment if you check it out. Yeah.
Game developer extraordinaire.
Oh, yeah. Proud Mom Games lives again.
Oh. Don't steal the name. It's not incorporated.
We'll see. I don't know. Actually, I did lose the business, Proud Mom Games, because I filled out my tax form too late, and they wanted me to pay $100, and I didn't want to do that, so I lost.
Was it an LLC or something?
Yeah, we were an LLC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I figure if I ever have anything else to sell, I'll either get the name back or choose a new name. But
yeah.
But yeah, In a Dark Cave. Please
In a Dark Cave.
Let me know what you think.
All right, I want to give a brief shout out to Lethal Company. No, me and Connor have been playing.
Oh my god, good game.
Oh man, I gotta play this game, man.
Oh. Dude, I would play it with you. Who you play Lethal Company with is critical because
you gotta have the right funny people that aren't willing to be serious. If you're playing with serious people, it's really miserable. But if you're playing with
I mean, the humor is all derived from the fact that the audio can just it's contextual, right? Like it can cut off if you die and stuff.
Yeah, it is probably the best proximity chat game.
If you're playing with people that are willing to not play super seriously and be in and out and clean everything and are willing to take risks.
Yeah, no, being sweaty ruins the game
fun,
completely.
But if you're with people who are kind of more risk adverse and are we should probably get out of here, it's not.
Yeah, it's a really easy game to be risk averse and just do fine in. It is a game that is way more fun to lose than it is to win. If that
getting shot out the airlock, there's no good thing for getting high quotas other than just the satisfaction of going up.
I guess we should say what it is. Lethal Company is a co-op horror game where you are scavenging these outposts on different moons, and it has various nothing new under the sun really, but it has monsters that typically are sci-fi tropes that stuff from Doctor Who or I'm just thinking of the Weeping Angel enemy, but
that's terrifying. Something like that's in the game.
Yeah. Oh, and it's really good. The brilliance of the game is discovering all that, and so it's kind of unfun to play the game with people who already know everything. And what's brilliant is it's an early access game. I think they've already added a bunch of stuff since I last played, so I no longer know everything, which is great. But I need to hop in with the right people that aren't going to make sure you don't do this, and if you see this, we need to get out of here, and blah, blah, all this stuff.
It's more fun when you have people that know what these things do, but don't care. I know what the dogs do. I know what they do, but I don't care. If I die to a dog, it's funny.
And a lot of it's obvious. The dogs, obviously... And it's such a brilliant use of the proximity chat because the enemies can hear you too, and that comes up. So sometimes, there was an enemy outside, and this was a really fun moment I had with one of the sweatier people, but they were shut up, sternly talking to the mic, and I'm like, why? What's up?
Talking so that the dog will come in and be funny.
And they're like, no, be quiet.
Oh wait, is there matchmaking with?
No, this was with a friend.
Oh, your sweaty friend. Okay.
Yeah. And I still had fun playing with them. I just think I played again without them and with just people who are goofing around with me, and it was way more fun to not take it super seriously. It's just, it doesn't hold up against being taken super seriously.
Oh man, I would totally be down to play this game with you guys.
Yeah, I'd be down.
I think it would be a lot of fun.
Whenever.
We could turn it into a Game Talk place.
Yeah. Or something. And it is a horror game, but it is also
game I've ever played.
Perhaps it's a comedy game. It's maybe the funniest game I've ever played.
Even funnier.
I was walking. This isn't a huge spoiler for an enemy or anything. There's a planet with quicksand in it, and for some reason, my friend Antonio could not see the quicksand, and he kept walking into it, and we kept making fun of him for it. And we were walking around, and he was just saying, "I'm not going to fall into it." And then he cuts off, and I look over, and he's dead. And I just started laughing hard. And then I realized that he was probably spectating me, hearing me laughing at him, and it made me laugh even harder. I think my favorite
is there's maps with cliff sides, and the only last thing you hear is, "Oh no," and you see your friend sliding into a pit full of water, knowing they're gonna drown.
How has no one thought of this before?
I don't know.
There's so much humor to be derived from proximity chat.
It's not just humor either. There are some brilliant horror movie moments too. There are radios in the game, walkie-talkies. And I was walking around outside trying to get back to the ship, and a giant monster picked me up, but didn't kill me immediately. So I took out my radio and was like, "Guys, get out of here, get out of here." And then I just go quiet because I'm dead.
He's got me, and you're dead.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's such a fun
game. There are some monsters that are just fun to interact with.
Yeah, it's a 2023 level game. It's very good. Very high praise for Lethal Company.
Yeah. I mean, dude, 2023 just doesn't stop. We got that Asgard's Wrath 2 coming out with a 93 on Metacritic.
I hate meta exclusive games though, because I'll just never get to play that.
That's crazy, man. Like, I really truly hope that like maybe after a year or two these games come to other platforms, but I
it's
doubt
not
it.
been happening though. I mean, some of them did. Like, I think Among Us VR was originally meta exclusive, but
yeah, this is like 100+ hour VR RPG that's actually good. Like, what?
Yeah, but playing it on a Meta Quest, which is like,
yeah, I'm not gonna play it on a Meta Quest. That's just
the
not
best headset
happening.
Yeah, I mean they're good headsets. I don't mean to sit here and dunk on the hardware. I've used a Quest before, a Quest 1.
It's just, and I found it pretty good. The issue is it's so. Like, I don't really even have a problem that the fact that it's like meta. My issue is that like it's so disconnected from the rest of my gaming world.
It's also
right, like if it's not on like Steam, if it's not on PlayStation, if it's not Nintendo, I'm not really going to be bothered with it.
I don't know. I think this is going to come off not how I want to say it, but it's budget hardware where like I would happily pay like if there were VR experiences of this tier, which I think there are starting to be, I want to be playing them on a nice OLED panel or micro LED. I don't know what the current best technology for VR headsets is. I think it's OLED, but like wide field of view, high resolution, connected to my gaming PC, so frame rates are like great.
I was just gonna say though, like the fact that this game even exists is such a good sign for VR.
I agree.
Like,
and I want to play it really bad.
It definitely seems like a shot in the arm that VR needed.
It feels like such a huge blind spot. I was looking at the Open Critic scores this year to make the list tonight because I was having trouble remembering stuff.
Yeah,
and there's a game made by Shell Games, who is local here in Pittsburgh. They also made Among Us VR, I believe. And it's called I Expect You to Die 3. And I loved I Expect You to Die 1. It was one of my favorite VR games. But it had like an 89 on Metacritic. Or OpenCritic, rather.
Yeah.
That's a really good game.
That's a great score.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like, I feel like there might be these really good VR games. It's just hard to find them, Like, they don't get talked about as much, Like,
the headsets
the overall audience is way smaller.
The headsets feel outdated so fast, too. Like, a monitor from 5 years ago is still fine. But my headset from 5 years ago, I feel like it's been lapped over and over again. Like, the Index came out. The Big Picture headset just came out. Apparently, it's really cool. And, like, I don't know. Do I want to? I probably will. I'm not going to buy a new headset for one game. But, it's going to be a little weird to bust out my old Lenovo Explorer, which wasn't even top of the line when I got it. It was very entry-level VR. And play these games that are coming out in 2023 on it. And for what it's worth, I'm not dunking on Lenovo Explorer. I had so much fun with Beat Saber in it, but it's a Windows mixed reality headset, which odds are nobody's even heard of that because it was a very short-lived Windows virtual reality initiative where like Lenovo and HP and I think a couple others released headsets and they were very easy to get a hold of because they were bundled with laptops for some reason, and the people buying the laptops did not want them because the laptops were not strong enough to run VR. And so you could get these on eBay for like $200, even though they were $600 headsets.
Dang.
Yeah, and if you knew that scam, it was a pretty good deal, but the tracking leaves some to be desired. The head tracking is great. The controller tracking leaves some to be desired. Stuff like throwing items in games doesn't always work. I don't know. It was a little too wonky. That was a huge tangent.
Lethal Company 3. No, what was it called?
I Expect You to Die
Company.
3.
Yeah, Lethal.
That was
I was getting my wires crossed.
Lethal Company.
We were talking about Lethal Company. Yeah. This is a game I want to play with people.
All games with proximity chat are better than games without it. I don't know if that's a hot take or anything. Like, the proximity chat mod for Minecraft is insanely good. I haven't even used it. I just watch Hermitcraft episodes, and having the proximity chat mod increases the quality of them immensely. Sea of Thieves having proximity chat is brilliant. It just opens the door to interacting with people in ways that gaming should have and doesn't a lot of the time for some reason.
It just feels natural, right? Like,
yeah,
you can hear someone
there's
close to you, right? Like, and you can't hear them when you move away from them. Like, it just adds to the immersion.
Like in Lethal Company, you get separated from your friends that you're playing with, you do not know if they are dead or alive anymore. And they don't know if you're dead or alive, or if they're going to leave without you. Or now that you can check whether or not somebody is alive from the ship usually. And like, when you're carrying a two-handed thing, you can't use your radio. So like, are they dead or are their hands full? I don't know.
Yeah.
You can hear your radio, you just can't talk into it. And all of that, it's so good. And like, who has a radio? Because you have to pay for the radios. So who all gets one? Does everybody have a radio? That's a lot of inventory slots taken up. Do only 2 people have radios? One person having a radio is pointless.
Right.
Like, it's such a good game. I wish Fortnite had proximity chat.
Yeah, I'm ready to wrap us up.
Oh
yeah. Mike's got to get to work here. So, and we've already gone pretty long on this episode. So, thank you all for listening. Thank you for all your support in 2023. You can follow us at @podcast Gametalk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, or any other podcast services you use. Click the link in the description to check out Connor's game and join our Discord and talk to us there. And see you guys in 2024.
Yeah.
Bye.